I'll just use the chair's prerogative for 2 seconds to ask a follow-up question to Mr. Ross. And as despicable and as unlawful, I believe the statements made by Mr. Shrikawi were and would be if they were stated again. We don't know why the prosecution chose not to continue with the charges. And perhaps it is to Mr. Fortin's point. I just want to dig in a bit about the concept of good faith, Mr. Ross. In Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Romans, there's other passages, there is clear hatred towards, for example, homosexuals. I don't understand how the concept of good faith could be invoked if someone were literally invoking a passage from, in this case, the Bible, but there are other religious texts that say the same thing, and somehow say that this is good faith. I mean, clearly there are situations in these texts where these statements are hateful. They should not be used to invoke or be a defense, and there should perhaps be discretion for prosecutors to press charges. I just want to understand what your notion of good faith is in this context, where there are clearly passages in religious texts that are clearly hateful.
So I don't know that I would agree with that that characterization, Mr. Chair, that passages are categorically hateful, especially not passages in the Bible. And I think if members of Parliament are of the view that passages of the Bible are hateful, that's something that Canadians should be aware of. And I don't know if that's necessarily what you were communicating there. I think your concern is the way that the Bible might be relied upon or cited to advance particular messages. And that was specifically dealt with in Whatcott. And there the court drew a very careful line between speech that we might view as repugnant or offensive or hurtful versus speech that crosses the line into inciting hatred and promoting hatred and exposing a group to hatred, where there's a very different analysis that needs to be employed there. But just to answer that thoughtful question, the good faith, what is the good faith doing? What it does is ensure that Canadians can engage in religious dialogue or debate or discussion on very difficult, controversial issues that many Canadians are wrestling with truth. And so we have a defense in subsection B, or excuse me, in subsection 3A, where there's a defense for truth. But that doesn't necessarily apply when we're talking about religious truth, because it would be inappropriate for the courts or for the government to opine categorically on whether a particular religious claim is truthful or not. The court or the courts can't decide, for example, whether Jesus Christ objectively is the Son of God. So what this does is say, when it comes to some of these fundamental questions, we want to preserve room for people to engage in dialogue, both critical of religious texts and relying on religious texts. So it works both ways to try to seek and discern truth without fear of being labeled a blasphemer or a criminal or a hate mongerer by those who find their beliefs offensive and would try to silence them. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I would have lots of follow-ups, but I don't want to take away other members' times. I'll jump to the second round. Thank you for your answer.
Second round of the Liberal member, I guess.
This is chair's discretion. You get it once in a while. I've been sitting here patiently for 10 rounds listening to you guys ask the same questions over and over, so I get one once in a while.
Thank you. I just want to, I think it's been some excellent testimony as to some of the weaknesses of the bill, and I think it's been constructive. So I just wanted to take the conversation though a little bit back, more general. So a quick but I think important question for the witnesses. Do any of you know how the Charter of Rights and Freedoms begins?
If you're referring to, are you referring to the, sorry to interrupt you. If you're referring to the preamble?
You referred to the preamble, although it's actually a part of the Charter. It's not actually a preamble.
So the opening words of the Charter state that whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, and then Section 1 states that the rights and freedoms are guaranteed subject to such limits. I should have this memorized as
but I wanted to get it
justified
across.
In a free and democratic society.
Yes, and so I just wanted to ask all of the panelists, we'll just use the three major books, or three of the major, shouldn't say the three major, but three of the major books of religions: the Quran, the Bible, both New and Old Testament, and the Torah, which of course is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Do you believe that any Canadian should ever be criminalized for reading any of these scriptures? And we'll go right across. So start with you, Mr. Ross.
No, there should not be a categorical criminalization of simply reading a religious text. As I hope I made clear in my previous answers, sometimes the context of the way that a text is used, or more accurately misused, that might merit criminal intervention. But to say categorically that reading a particular text, whether it's a religious text or any other text, I think it's problematic if we start listing certain books as being off limits.
Deputy Chief.
Yeah, I agree. I think no. I mean, reading is one thing. I think it's the context it's being read in, and the space it's being utilized in. I think is something you need to be mindful of, right? Anyone can read what they want and choose to read what they want and believe in what they want to believe in. It's a matter of how you're utilizing that, whether in a space amongst your peers or your friends, or in a space where there's others who might have some concern with that. So I think that the context is very important around the use of that.
So, but Deputy Chief, if in fact you're reading the Torah, the Quran, or the Bible in a large group, you might see a potential for criminalization.
No, again, that's I think far-reaching a little bit. I think it just depends on the context of what your intentions are with it. I mean, you could get into good debate about the use of that and when it's used, but to read it, I think we could read lots of things that people might find offensive, right? So I think it's just there's a context that you have to take this all in when you look at what the intent of that was.
The same question for you.
Thank you. Yes, and I'd agree with the 2 other speakers that certainly there should be no law that simply outright bans the reading of any religious text in Canada, and that the context of how speech is delivered is what is important. And if it goes into calling for violence, or other similar instances, then certainly that needs to be addressed. But the simple reading of a religious scripture should not be criminalized.
Mr. McSorley.
Mr. Lawrence, sorry.
Hold on. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.